This week on The Aviators, our newest host, Joe, finds out what it's like to fly off water. I look at all the steps involved in buying your own airplane. And Curtis heads to the only place on the planet where you'll find more than 4,000 military aircraft in one place, the U.S. Air Force Boneyard.
Aviators.
Joining the Aviators this year is musician Joe Ellis. Not only is Joe a touring recording artist, he's also an experienced commercial pilot and brings a wealth of knowledge to the Aviators. To get him started, we thought it would be fun for him to do something he's never done before, so we threw him into a float plane.
So Richard, we're going to go fly in your 2010 Aircam that you built, if I understand correctly,
right.
Yourself here. This is my first time in a float plane, so if you could tell me just a little bit about what I can expect. And I might add that this is my first time in any open cockpit airplane as well, so it's kind of a double first for me. And just let me know what I'm going to be feeling here as we take off.
Well, I think you'll agree once we do fly it that it's sort of in a category all of it by itself. It's awesome to be able to land, take off and land not only on the runways but on the water, and to be able in the open cockpit is sort of like having motorcycling is fun. This is sort of like a motorcycle that you lift up and go fly then. So it's pretty awesome, as you'll see.
Richard Johnson is a seaplane pilot and owner of an amphibious aircam. Seaplanes are any form of aircraft that can take off from and land on water. Flying a seaplane does require extra training and an extra rating on your pilot's license. But it also opens up a whole new world of flying opportunities and a new community of pilots.
The general principles of flight are all the same, whether you're in a seaplane or a land airplane.
Steve McGaughey is the executive director of the Seaplane Pilots Association.
We just add a little bit to it with seaplanes. We add floats, we add the ability to land on land, water, either one. And so we do have some airplanes that are capable of landing just on water, and then we have amphibians that can land on land and water. There's a lot more technical aspects to the airplanes. We add more systems, we add more things to pre-flight, but what we find is flying seaplanes increases your stick and rudder skills, and it's more of a grassroots flying, and it just opens up a whole new world of adventure for people.
Seaplanes generally fall into two categories. Float planes, which use floats or pontoons secured to the bottom of the aircraft, and the so-called flying boat type aircraft, which have a hull designed to float on the water. Float planes are generally modifications of wheeled aircraft, such as this Cub. Regardless of whether it's an aircraft with floats or a hull, they both share the unique ability to take off from and land on water.
So by flying seaplanes, it allows us to access areas that most land pilots will never dream of landing at. We can go to a remote area that may be only 10 or 15 minutes from a major metropolis, and there might not be road access to a lake, and yet we can get there in 10 or 15 minutes, and you're in a virtual wilderness by most people's standards, and you can have a shoreline all to yourself. And just the sense of adventure that you get from flying a seaplane is amazing.
So today is my first time on the water in an open cockpit airplane, and I'll be honest with you, there's just a little corner of me that's slightly nervous, particularly with the little windy conditions and quite a few aircraft flying around with us today on the water. What are we going to do, and just kind of talk me through so I can expect how much
Well, once we get, like say, when we get in a position on the water and take off, it'll probably take you as much as 10 seconds to relax and start enjoying it right away, because you'll think it's like nothing you've ever experienced. It's better than any ride you've been on or any plane you've ever flown, because like I say, it's in a category all of its own. It's completely different. So you'll become relaxed right away, I'm sure.
So tell me what your experience is for someone like myself who has experience in other aircraft but not on the water. What is the reaction, and how does it change their approach to aviation?
Well, once they are introduced to float flying, it's just a whole nother world for aviation. My most recent, last 2 students, which got to check right yesterday, are 2 F-16 pilots with thousands of hours and all kind of ratings and helicopter, about everything you can think of. Had never taken off or landed on the water, never flown a seaplane or open cockpit, and now he's got to have one. He fell in love with it right away, which that's pretty much what happens with just about everybody that goes in it.
That was unbelievable. Thank you so much for the ride. My first time in a float plane, an open cockpit float plane nonetheless. The sensations, I have to ask you if I'm overexcited from what you see normally. And I know I was talking about this as we did it, but the bounce of taxiing through the grass and coming down a boat landing in an airplane, and we hit the water, and the sensation of just settling into the water, and now we're just in this completely different world. I mean, am I feeling this correct, or did I make it cooler in my own mind than it was?
You got about the same feeling that everybody gets for their first ride, and then it just gets better from then on.
It gets better.
Oh yeah.
And it was really cool for me when, you know, you go through the feeling of plowing through the water, and when the airplane jumped up on the step, it felt exactly like a regular airplane again to me.
Oh yeah.
And we're on a runway, and after that, you know, just then the open cockpit part of things kicked in, and that was just an unbelievable
Yeah, you do the
well.
open cockpit 2 or 3 times, then when you climb in one that's closed, you won't like it nearly as much.
Yeah.
Claustrophobic,
I'm
and you
scared
can't
to
see.
go back.
Yeah, I hear you. But you didn't use up your full 10 seconds to get used to it either, did you?
No, I'm telling you, as soon as we got going on that water, it was over, and I'm hooked, and I absolutely loved it.
As regular viewers of the show will recall, not too long ago I purchased a new-to-me Cessna P210. I told you all about my experience in making the aircraft my own, and you saw how the dusty 70s vintage panel was replaced by a brand new Aspen and Garmin glass panel. Unfortunately, the plane's still brown, but that may change soon. Now, before I could start upgrading and changing the aircraft, I of course had to buy it. And before that, I had to find it. Well, none of that is as simple or as easy to do on your own as you might think, so I enlisted the help of an aircraft broker to help me through the process. Recently, I spoke to Travis Hamilton, an expert on buying and selling aircraft, who advised me of some of the common pitfalls new aircraft buyers face. Where does one start? You just don't drive down the street and go to the airplane dealer and start kicking the tires and taking test drives. Where does one start?
Well, Anthony, there's a couple of areas that you can look at. There's some publications out there that are usually your local FBOs. One of the recommendations we make is to hire a professional. Hire somebody that really knows the buying and selling process of acquiring an airplane, because it's a very complicated process. It's not like buying a car.
What sort of questions would you ask me as someone who doesn't even know what they're looking for, say?
First question I usually ask is the mission. What exactly are you going to be doing? What types of airports are you going to be basing the airplane out of? Are you going to just, go out and fly on a Sunday afternoon? Are you going to take people are you eventually going to be taking people some places? Are you going to use it in your business? Or are there some things you're going to use in your business? Are you going to be hauling things in your business? Those are some things you need to ask yourself going into it. You want to educate yourself a little bit going into this with the broker, as opposed to just coming in and the broker making suggestions, because that could lead you down into an asset that you don't necessarily need. So really the most critical point is, what's your mission capability? Because you don't want to go in and buy something that you can't fly in and out of your home airport. You can't get back into your home airport, or you can't haul what you need to haul, meaning your family, friends, colleagues, business partners, so on and so forth. So that's a very critical question that a lot of times people forget to ask. And then ultimately, we get down to, what's the budget? How much do you want to spend on this asset? Because that can weed down a lot of assets that are out there that are available today on the marketplace.
Once a broker has an idea of the type of missions you'll be flying and where you'll be flying to and from, they can start to present different options. Now, unlike buying a car, where you go to a dealer and they show you one manufacturer's newest four-door that happens to fit your price range, when buying an aircraft, a broker will likely present multiple manufacturers' aircraft, whether they're new or used, that fit your price range and your mission. but now we have maybe half a dozen types of aircraft. How do we narrow that down to Cessna 210?
What we would do is we would break down the operating costs of the airplane. That would be a factor that we're going to look at. And then what we would do is go out and look at the airplane. Some owners don't ever do that, but what we like to do is get out in front of the airplane and let the new prospective buyer look at the asset overall, possibly go fly the airplane, see if it's something that's going to fit them and what they want to do. They feel comfortable in the asset. And then at that point, we just start weeding down through the process and guide them in them making a decision.
Now, a lot of our viewers are probably going to be looking at buying a 4-seat piston single-engine aircraft, but some may be looking at larger, more expensive purchases. How is that process if I want to get into a business jet or something other than a small piston single? Is that process very much the same or completely different?
It's same in the questions that we ask. It's significantly different, obviously, in the dollars that you're going to spend. But we still go down that same path. We'll ask the company or the business professional, what's your mission? What are you guys going to be doing? Is this Citation going to be the perfect airplane for you all, or do you all need to be looking at a large cabin, long-range airplane? So we take them down the same path, however, we're spending a lot more money. So market availability is an element in the business jet world that we've got to consider as well. In fact, there may not be some assets that are readily available as other ones. Take, for instance, the Gulfstream market and the new Gulfstream G650 market. You know, you may place an order and not get your airplane till 2015, 2016, 2017.
Market availability can be one of the biggest factors not only in the larger aircraft markets, but in smaller aircraft as well. The exact plane you're looking for may not be available. In that case, you could either wait and continue your search for a specific model, or look at another airplane that similarly fits your mission and budget. Once you find an airplane and say, okay, I want to buy this aircraft, you're not home free yet. The airplane still needs to go through a pre-sale inspection and the relatively complex paperwork process.
The biggest thing that people don't understand is the paperwork and the documents that have to go on behind the scenes. What has to be filed with the regulatory body with whatever venue you're buying the airplane in, be it the US, in Canada, Mexico, Europe. There's a tremendous amount of documentation that has to go on, and that's when you engage a professional title company to be able to help you with that process.
A title and escrow company acts as a neutral third party in an airplane transaction. Instead of a buyer paying a deposit to a seller and hoping that the seller will just give back the money if they find a snag in the inspection or paperwork process, a title and escrow company will hold the funds until the pre-sale inspection and all paperwork necessary to complete the process has cleared. And with an airplane, you just can't go down to your local DMV to process a change of ownership.
All the paperwork that happens on any aircraft happens in Oklahoma City. So if you're buying or selling a plane in the United States or importing into the United States, the paperwork will go through Oklahoma City.
Clay Healy is the owner of AIC Title.
You actually have to have ink signatures, original signatures, on a piece of paper, and it has to go through the actual physical office in Oklahoma City to transfer the ownership of an aircraft.
With the FAA being in Oklahoma, in order to clear the title on an aircraft, agents often have to go and physically look at files and documents within the FAA's office or hunt through archives of information.
These files are not put together the way you and I or any logical person would put them together. I can promise you they're not. I can go take it to the ladies that have done it for 40 years in my office, and they'll pull it out in 30 seconds and say, this is your issue, these are the things you need to look at.
One of the biggest problems that we have in our transactions is running a title search and finding that there's an old lien back from 25 or 30 years ago where a bank was paid off and never filed a release of their lien. And we have an entire lien clearance department that deals with issues of that nature so that somebody who wants to buy an aircraft, we can actually end up helping them clear that title.
The aircraft sale is also dependent on the pre-sale inspection. Similar to an annual, there are likely to be some small squawks. Large squawks could send you back to the negotiating table. But once the aircraft is clear mechanically, and all the paperwork has been taken care of, the airplane can finally trade hands. Is this something that you can do without engaging a professional, or is this something that you would absolutely advise against?
You can do it on your own. It is something, there are resources out there through different organizations to help you buy an airplane. We always recommend you hire a professional. Somebody that knows all aspects of the transaction where you're just not on your own trying to figure this out. So we always recommend you hire a broker or an acquisition specialist that can really help you with it as a full turnkey piece as opposed to you just trying to figure it out on your own.
Hi, I'm Rob Ryder. Flying at night can be a wonderful and exhilarating experience. Ground lights form intricate and exciting patterns. City outlines are clear and match the design printed on our aeronautical charts. The coolness of the air on a summer night increases the performance of the airplane, while the sun's absence decreases the winds and calms the bumps. It's just a great time to fly.
When we hear references to aircraft boneyards, most of us conjure up images in our mind of unwanted and worn-out aircraft left parked under the sun forever. We're here in Tucson, Arizona at the 309th Aerospace Maintenance and Regeneration Group, where we're going to learn that their mission includes anything but leaving more than 4,000 aircraft in the desert to languish forever.
Located on the south side of Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, AMARG was established by the Army Air Force in 1946 to store and harvest parts from surplus aircraft after World War II. Since that time, AMARG has expanded to serve all branches of the U.S. military, as well as other federal agencies and even foreign governments. Currently, Colonel Robert Lepper has the responsibility of overseeing the maintenance and preservation of the more than 4,000 aircraft housed at AMARG.
So, Colonel Robert Lepper, I've never seen so many military aircraft in one place. What is going on here in Tucson?
This is an extraordinary place. The 309th Aerospace Maintenance and Regeneration Group, usually referred to as AMARG by those people that know us, or to the majority of people in the world that understand us as the boneyard. The biggest difference is when people hear boneyard, they think of a junkyard. And that couldn't be further from the truth. In a junkyard, most everything that's there gets scrapped and it's of no value. The 4,000 airplanes that are here are of tremendous value to the Air Force, to the Navy, and to our other partners. Without the 50 parts a day that I take every single day off airplanes, the current fleets that are out there would stop flying. So first is, it's not a junkyard. Second is, its value is not measured in dollars and cents, it's measured in combat capability. The ability for the United States Air Force, United States Navy to continue to fly is partially listed right out here with these aircraft that are right behind us. That is a major portion for the warfighter and the defense of the United States.
The aircraft inventory at the 309th includes aircraft dating back to the 1950s and includes most of the aircraft types flown throughout the late Cold War right up until the present day. AMARG receives deliveries of new aircraft on a weekly basis, with most of the aircraft flying into the base on their own power. As we learned from the 309th Support Squadron Director, Mark Sipes, the preservation process the aircraft undergo is quite extensive.
Now, the aircraft that we're looking at here, if you can see it because of the size of them, have been preserved. You do things to actually ensure that they're going to be usable in the future.
We do. Aircraft come in and they're stored in one of three categories, from very preserved to not very preserved. Class 1000 aircraft, regeneration candidates, or airplanes that can fly again, we spend a lot of time preserving. There are several processes we go through, but essentially, we seal up the aircraft so moisture does not enter it from the top. The bottoms are left open so we can have natural kind of breathing with the moisture. We also preserve the fuel and engine systems by running the engines on 1010 oil, which is very lightweight oil, kind of like sewing machine oil.
So when you talk about sealing the airplane, how do you go about sealing the airplane up?
It's basically a three-step process. The first is called barrier paper or sealing tape. And as you can see, we'll cover the production brakes, the panel lines, or the engine inlets with a mylar type substance called barrier paper. And then we spray it with 2 coats of black moisture barrier and then 2 coats of this white enamel spray lat over the top of it. The white enamel reflects the sunlight, allows us to keep the airplane up within about 15 degrees of whatever the ambient temperature is. The key being 165 degrees. If the airplane stays below 165 degrees, we can save all the electronic components.
The Sonoran Desert near Davis-Monthan was chosen as the ideal location for an open-air storage facility for a number of reasons. While the area does receive rain in the summer, for the most part the area is warm and dry all year round. The clay-like caliche soil found here is extremely hard and allows aircraft as large as a C-5 to be stored directly on the soil without additional concrete or support being added.
Now, in the 2000 series that you discussed, that's about getting aircraft here to continue to supply parts to airplanes that still fly.
Correct.
How do you physically do that?
We will dispatch people to go and pull the required items based on a customer order. The item managers order parts from us. If they can't find it in the supply system and we need to get an airplane flying, they'll come here.
So they come here and they say, Mark, I need this type of engine piece, or I need this type of control service piece. Where do you go? How do you know what you have, and where do you go find it?
How do we know what we have? We run what's called a negative inventory here. We don't really know what we have, but we know what we've removed. So if somebody were to come in and say, I need the left landing gear on a C5, we can look in our database of C5s and see how many we have removed left landing gear from, and then how many, the other side of that is how many should still have it on there.
Aircraft that are no longer being flown by the active fleet, such as the now retired F-14, or aircraft that have had all of their salvageable or reusable parts removed, become candidates for scrapping. These aircraft go through a process of removing all hazardous materials as well as anything that the military does not want to see in civilian or foreign hands. But being scrapped is not the fate of all aircraft at AMARC.
We will take aircraft that are here, and different entities, usually within the federal government or sometimes from foreign nations, will want to pay to have those aircraft regenerated. Right now, we are literally regenerating the final F4 Phantom. It's been here for almost 24 years. We are regenerating it for flight.
This particular one, April of '89, was an induct date, so it's a cool 20-plus years soaking in the sun.
Lieutenant Colonel Michael Leach is an F4 and F-16 pilot with the U.S. Air Force.
Our maintenance guys do a scrub on them, about 6 to 9 months of intense labor. They turn them over to us, and then we go make sure these things are actually airworthy to start transporting them over populated areas. Hopefully I don't find any scorpions or snakes. That's the big one. From that, the list of what could go wrong is huge. I mean, these guys do the best work possible on them. The fact that we can even fly them after 20 years, but you know, you have your mix of electrical problems, or maybe there's a hydraulic problem, or some switch is not right in either the landing gear or the flaps. We shake all that out, make sure it's good to go.
This F4 is the last Phantom that'll be taken out of AMARC to become a remote-controlled, full-scale drone. The full-scale drone program is used to test weapons and give new aviators experience at shooting at a full-scale target. With the F4s finishing their run as drones, surplus F-16s will now become full-scale drones. Now, a lot of folks watching this are probably thinking, with all of those aircraft lying around, I'd be happy to take one off the government's hands.
So if I wanted to go get an A4F or a T4 Goshawk from you guys to restore, is that possible?
It is not possible. There's absolutely no way we can transfer aircraft or even aircraft components to private citizens. Can't be done.
That's too bad.
It is too bad.
That would be a lot of fun.
Otherwise, everyone at AMARC would have their own private airplane in the driveway that we were rebuilding.
I
would take a T-34C Turbo Mentor, personally. If out of all the airplanes, that'd be the only one I think I could afford to operate.
And if you came here and drained the fuel from the tanks, I'm sure that there's probably enough gas here for you to keep
that would be a misallocation of taxpayer funds.
Well said.
Seasons 1 to 4 of The Aviators are now available on DVD and Blu-ray. For more information on today's segments, visit www.theaviators.tv. From our official home at the Whitman Regional Airport in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, we'll see you next week on The Aviators.